Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, I'll be cutting and sewing this really simple boo dress that you can see on your screen. So I used 3 yards of brocade fabric to achieve this style. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. My fabric is folded into four. I'm going to show you guys using this pattern paper how I folded my fabric. I first of all folded it like this. So the reason why I folded it this way is because I don't want any joining on the shoulder area. Then I folded it over. So the center front is on fold and the shoulder area is also on fold. So my fabric is folded into four. So the same way I folded this pattern paper, that is how my fabric is folded. Okay, so go ahead and fold your fabric. There's not going to be any joining on the shoulder area. The next thing you do is to take the length of your dress. The length of my dress is about 54 inches. Next thing I'll do now is to go ahead and take half of my shoulder measurement. From the folded end of this fabric, I'll go in by 7.5 inches, which is the shoulder measurement that I'm working with. Okay, so after marking the 7.5 inches, I'm going to place my tape on that 7.5 inches and I'm going to mark the length of my sleeves. So this totally depends on how long you want your sleeves to be. I want these sleeves to be about 16.5 inches long, and that is what I have on the fabric. So the length of your sleeves is going to determine the amount of fabric you are going to fold. So everything folded together is about 24.5 inches. Okay, so everything that I have here is what I'll be using for the length of my sleeves. The next thing you do is to determine how wide you want your sleeves to be. I want to be really loose. So I'll be using about 20 inches for the width of the sleeves. All you have to do is to place your tape on the sleeves area, on the shoulder area, sorry, and you're going to go down by half of the sleeve circumference. So it's supposed to be 10 inches, but I marked 12 inches because I want to use 1 inch for stitching allowance and I added 1 inch to it also. I don't want it to be tight at all. So I marked the 12 inches. What I'm doing is marking the 12 inches all the way to the center front and I went ahead to rule a straight line across. After doing that, I'm going to place my bust circumference divided by 4 on that line, and then depending on how big you want your bubu dress to be, for me I'm adding 2 inches for ease. Okay, and then I'm adding another 2 inches for my stitching allowance. So if you want your bubu to be really big, wide, you can add 2 inches, 3 inches, it depends on you, but I'm using 2 inches as my ease allowance because it's not a fitted dress at all. The next point I'm taking is distance from my shoulder to my waist point, which is 15 inches. I marked the 15 inches and I went ahead to rule a straight line across. On that line, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll add 2 inches for ease and I'll add 2 inches for my stitching allowance. I'll connect from the bust line to the waistline as you can see me doing. Next thing I'll do is to go down from my shoulder to my hip line, which is 24 inches. I'll mark that and I'll also rule a straight line across. On that line, I'll place my hip circumference divided by 4. I'll indicate that. I'll add 2 inches for ease and another 2 inches for stitching allowance. After doing that, I'll connect from the waist down to the hip, just like you see me doing. The next thing I'll do now is to just connect this line straight to the base of my dress, okay? So whatever is allowance you want to add, just go ahead and do that. Next thing I'll do is to curve out my armhole. So on the bust line, I'll connect like this to give it that armhole shape. I'll connect it all the way to the waist like this. So after doing that, I'm going to mark my neck width. For the neck width, it depends on how wide you want your neck to be. I'm using 3.5 inches. For the neck depth for the front, I'll be using 8 inches. It's a V neckline. So if you want it really deep, you can go down more. If you don't want it deep, you can go up. But I'm using 8 inches. I will use my ruler to connect in a slant from the 8 inches to meet the 3.5 inches neck width. After connecting, this is what I have. The next thing is to take the neck depth for the back. I'll be using 1.5 inches. So I'll mark the 1.5 inches as you can see me doing, and I'll use my ruler to connect from the 1.5 inches to meet the neck width like this. After doing that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut. But before I cut, I'll be using this ASOKE for the center front, and the wideness of this ashoke is 6 inches, as you can see. So this is what I'll be using for the center front. I'll be folding half an inch on both ends of this ashoke before I use it. So let's cut and I'll explain further. After cutting, I'll go ahead and cut out the back neckline first, and then I'm going to open the fabric up, and I'm going to arrange front to front, back to back, as you can see me doing. So for the front, before I cut out the neckline, I'm going to make sure I notch the shoulder area just so I know where the back neckline stops, and then I'll outline the front neckline. So like I mentioned earlier, I'll be using this ashoke for the center front. The wideness is 6 inches. So I'll be folding half an inch on both ends. So once I fold in half an inch on this end and half an inch on the other end, I'll be left with 5 inches, and then I'm going to fold the 5 inches into two, which is going to give me 2.5 inches. So what I'll do now is to cut out the 2.5 inches from my fabric before I replace it using the ashoke, but I'll still need half an inch to join the ashoke to the main fabric. So instead of cutting 2.5 inches, I'll be cutting 2 inches, and then I'll use the half an inch as my stitching allowance. So from the center front, I'm marking 2 inches all the way to the base of my dress. Just go ahead and mark depending on the wideness of what you want to use as the center of your dress. So I'll mark 2 inches, not 2.5. I'm marking 2 inches all the way to the length of my dress. After doing that, I'll connect into a straight line, as you can see me doing. So for my neck depth, the front neck depth, I'm going to connect in a curve to meet the shoulder area, okay? So use the curved part of your ruler, as you can see me doing, and then connect it like this. I don't want that part to be straight, so I'm giving it a slight curve. So after doing that, I'll go ahead and cut the chalked line, okay? After cutting, this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and measure around the neckline area all the way to the base of my dress, and whatever I have here is what I'll be using to cut out my ashoke. After measuring, I had 59 inches. So fold the fabric you want to use for the center front into two. You're going to cut it out 59 times 2, okay, because we have the front and the back. And then my ashoke is not as strong, so I'll be ironing hair stay to it. After ironing my hair stay, I'll go ahead and fold in the half an inch, just like I explained before. I'll fold in half an inch on both sides. So I've gone ahead to do that. I've cut out my ashoke 59 times 2. Okay, so I also went ahead to iron my estate to strengthen the ashoke, and I folded in half an inch on both ends. So what I have here is 5 inches for the wideness of this ashoke. I also went ahead to iron the center. That is why you can see the straight line on the center of this ashoke. I'll be working with that soon. So after doing that, I'm going to place the ashoke right side facing right side. Go ahead and do that, and then you're going to measure the neckline area. First of all, remember I took 8 inches as my neck depth for the front. I'll go down, so notch the shoulder area so you know where to. So I placed my tape on the shoulder and I went down by 8 inches. I marked the 8 inches, which is my neck depth for the front. So I'm going to measure from the back neckline all the way to that 8 inches, as you can see me doing. So what I had was 12 inches. You can measure from the front and then you measure from the back, okay? Just make sure the what you measured is accurate, and then fold your ashoke or whatever fabric you are using into two equal halves and iron the center. So if you cannot iron the center, use your chalk to mark it, as you can see me doing, okay? So after marking, I know where the center is. I'm going ahead to confirm my measurement by measuring on the fabric. You see, after measuring this one, I had 13 inches. When I measured the front, I had 12 inches, but I measured on the fabric and what I had was 13 inches. So this 13 inches is the accurate one. That is what I'm going to use. So I folded my ashoke right side facing right side. What I'll do now is to go down by that 13 inches. That is both the front and the back neckline, and I'll rule a straight line across the 13 inches, okay? The next thing I'll do now is to divide this ashoke into two. So I have 5 inches. Half of 5 inches is 2.5 inches. I'm going to divide it all the way to the end. That is why I iron the center. But if you cannot iron, go ahead and divide whatever you are using into two because you are going to be sewing the center. Next thing I did was to determine if I wanted a slit for the front and go ahead and mark the length of the slit. Mine is about 21 inches. So I marked 21 inches on the main fabric and I'm doing the same thing on the ashoke, okay? So I'll mark the 21 inches and I'm going to roll a straight line across as you can see me doing. So after doing that, I'm going to sew from where the neckline stop to where the slit is going to start. So I'm not sewing the neckline area. I'm sewing after the 13 inches all the way to where the slit is going to start, and I'm going to leave the part that I'll be using as my slit. I hope you are not confused. So the center that you marked, just go ahead and sew on it. I've gone ahead to do that. And this part is the neckline area. I didn't sew it. I sewed from this part to where the slit is going to start. Okay. So I'm going to open my ashoke up as you can see. So I have two sides. The center, I stitch the center, okay? In case you don't understand what I'm saying, just do what I'm doing, okay? So the down part that I didn't close is going to be my slit. So I'm going to open it up like this. As you can see, I have two sides. This is the slit, and the other part that does not have an opening is the neckline area, okay? So what I'll do now is to attach this to my dress, but before you do that, go ahead and iron it flat, okay? So I'm going to attach this to my dress. What I'll do is to open up my dress first of all, and then I'm going to start with the back neckline. So make sure you notch where necessary, notch the neckline and also notch the shoulder area so you know how to place everything together. And you also notch the center back for this ashoke because we'll start pinning from the back. So I've gone ahead to open my fabric. What I'll do now is to notch the center back. Go ahead and do that, and then notch the center back of the ashoke. You're going to open it up and you put the main fabric inside the ashoke. Remember, we ironed half an inch on both sides. So just do what I'm doing. Open the ashoke up, place your fabric inside it, and then pin it down. So I'll continue to repeat the same process. I'll open the ashoke up. I'll put the main fabric inside as you can see me doing. Make sure it's arranged well, and then you are going to pin it down. You keep doing this till you get to the end of the dress, but make sure you use your pin to hold everything down in place because you're going to pin down before heading over to your sewing machine to sew. So I'm going to do that till I get to the end of the dress. After pinning everything down, this is what I have. I'm going to head over to my sewing machine and I'll sew all the way around. Okay, so make sure you hold everything down with your pin before sewing. I'm done sewing, guys, and this is what I have. This is what it looks like on the outside. This is my slit area. I'm going to turn it to the other side. You can see that all the rough edges on the fabric is inside the ashoke, so you can't see it. The back is also as neat as the front. Okay, so the next thing you do now is to hem the base of your sleeves. For me, I'll be using this ashoke to hem the base. Okay, I'll sew it to the wrong side and then I'll turn it to the right side and I'll top stitch. It's not going to increase the length of my sleeves. Okay, and if you don't have enough fabric, you can just hem it all the way around. After doing that, go ahead and arrange your dress in place, and you're going to use the stitching allowance that you left. For me, I left 2 inches. I'll use the 2 inches to sew all the way to the base of the dress, and after doing that, you are going to hem the base of your dress. And that is all for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video. Leave your questions in the comment section. I'll see you in the next one.